Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dharma talk. I don't have my bell, so quiet, please. Nice. So today, this has sung. Oh, thank you. So the opening talk today will be given by Dave Fitzpatrick, who has been practicing Zen for 8 to 9 years. He took 10 precepts in December, so he is now a Dharma teacher in training, and he lives in Fall River with his wife, and that's all he told me for his bio, so that's all I'm going to say. And then answering questions will be our own abbot and co-guiding teacher, Kwan Haeng Sunim. Kwan Haeng Sunim received inka, full authorization to teach, in December 2020. He first met Zen Master Seung Sahn at the Cambridge Zen Center in 1986. He became a novice monk in 1999 at Chik Chi Sa in South Korea, and received full ordination in 2003 at Tong Do Sa. He has lived and practiced mainly at Hwagye-sa and Musang-sa in Korea, where he served as housemaster, media director, and head monk.
Before we get started, could some folks fill the cushions up here? Yeah. Some brave souls, yes.
So while we make that adjustment, who was here last week? Excellent. All right, so you guys saw me talk last week. I don't like talks. I don't like giving them. They take me a long time to put together. I usually have a month or more, 2 months to turn the thoughts around and turn it into some coherent stream of information. That didn't happen today. We had a cancellation, and last week I talked a bit about clear mind, and that stuck with me for the last week, this clear mind idea. So I thought maybe I would dig into that a little bit deeper today. So this will be kind of ad hoc. So forgive me if I get sloppy or I stutter and pause and whatnot. So this clear mind thing, in the opening of the Compass of Zen, Zen Master Seung Sahn's book, The Compass of Zen, he starts off with René Descartes' famous saying, "I think, therefore I am," right? I think, therefore I am. So if you're thinking, and I am, if you're not thinking, then what? Is there an I there if you're not thinking? The book goes on to talk about Socrates running around saying, you have to know your mind, you have to know your mind. And somebody asks Socrates, do you know your mind? And he's like, no, but I know this don't know mind. All right, don't know mind. And in our school, we're always talking about clear mind, don't know. And I hear these lessons, and I think, it's not enough. I don't know, it feels like if I'm not thinking, my gut tells me there's still I'm still there. There's still an I right there. So this sense of self, there's an exercise I learned at a different practice group before I came to Zen, and we'll try that now together just for fun. So yourself, your body, you're sitting here, right? So imagine if you were to lose a limb, all right, it's gone. Is the sense of self still there? Does it remain? If you lose another limb and another limb, your ears, your nose, your eyes, is the self still there? If there was some way to sustain your brain, start pulling out organs, is it the chakra down here? Is it that yourself? No, that's gone. Is it your heart? Is that yourself? No, that's gone too. And in the end, you have just a blob of gray. Is that yourself? Well, I don't know. Neurology, I think, what is it called, neuroscience? If you dig into the neuroscience of the brain, you might come up with ideas, like I heard a story like the brain is hemispheres, and if you separate the hemispheres right down the middle, there's almost like two senses of self. One side can do communication and stuff like that with words and such, and the other can't speak, but has its own ideas of things. But this side doesn't know about that side. So is that self? Are there two? So it gets all crazy. What is self? And trying to figure it out. I've thought about it a bit, clearly. Gary and I have had this conversation a bit about the mind over the past few years, where, you know, all these neurons, this electrical connections in the brain, there's this thing called an emergent property. Has anybody seen what is it, the starlings? The starlings come out at dusk, and there's billions of them, and they have this wild motion as a unit. There's this, I think it's called murmuring? Yeah. Murmurations, yeah, this murmuration where they become more than the individual birds. They do something bigger. And some may argue that that's what the brain's doing, is it's doing its own murmuring, and out of that is this property of self. I don't think I like that I'm a property, you know? And I don't know, it feels wrong. It's like, is water wet? No, it's like wet is what water touches. These properties. So this idea of self, this I, it's tied directly to clear mind, to don't know. Like it's almost like that's a dichotomy. There's either an I or there's clear mind. It seems to be a split there. And I was reading a paper, I forget the guy's name, I want to say Jeff Atwood, but that feels wrong. And it was a paper titled, I think it was called Great Doubt, the Ultimate Koan.
Hey.
And in reading this paper,
the Dharma
he goes
right
through a series of arguments why people don't have great doubt. And it's all grasping. It's all hanging on to something. It's all hanging on to a sense of self. Even though we're preaching the choir here about, you know, clear mind, clear mind, clear mind, put it all down, put it all down, put it all down. We put it all down, and our little sense of self looks at the floor, and we still have the self. It's still right there. It's so hard to drop it.
You did your job.
And
you did your
I was
job.
stuck on that concept of the emergent property. That's the self. My brain, you know, I'm an electrical engineer by trade, or by training. So I'm thinking of the brain as a machine, and I locked onto that. I'm like, I can't put it down. I'm just stuck there. That's self is some emergent property. And then I get to this book, this thing I'm talking about, and they talk about dropping the idea or any conception that you have of what you think self is. Drop the idea of a soul, drop the idea of God, drop the idea of emergent property. Can you just drop it? Just let it go. Stop trying to figure it out. Stop trying to understand it. Stop trying to dig in the weeds to reveal that nugget that makes it proof that it's real. As sort of like an article of faith. Can you just let it go? Drop it. So I tried that. I dropped it. And once I let go of that idea of self, things, I guess, say, started to appear a little bit. And I did that. We started with that little exercise of, you know, if we lop everything off and we're left with just the brain, is that the self? Is it in there? Last week I talked a little bit about, if you remember, you know, some people have this idea of self that it's right here. It's just behind the eyes, just forward of the ears. It's like the little pinpoint right there. That's the center. And maybe it feels like that because that's like the center point of everything in the universe to us. It's just everything appears there. But it's a pinpoint. It's the what is it? The primary point maybe. It's just nothing. It's just right there. So the other side of that exercise from going outward in is to go the other way. And that's kind of cool too. So if you think of your body, You know, if your self is not contained in a point or in an object or in a thing, let's go the other way. As you go out, is it like, think of your eyes. The eyes are a great one because it's like the window to the soul. Never thought of that. That was a good one. Windows to the soul, right? What soul? So your eyes, does the self stop at the lens, or does it stop at the cones inside your eyeball? Right? Is there a line with this is self and that's not? And I think if you think about that a little bit, you'll see that no, there is no line. And then you just carry that forward. Take that, drop all conception of self. Just let it go. Let it rip. You do the eye exercise. Is it the cones? Is it the eye? Is it my fingers in front of my eye? Is it the space between you and I? Is that the self? Is that where the boundary is? Or are you part of the self? Is the room part of the self? And you just keep going. The entire experience, whatever it might be, is all part of that point. That single point contains all of it. So is there a boundary between self and other? If you burn your hand, you ouch and you take care of it. If you get the self and other thing going on, or drop the self and other, now when somebody else is hurt, you help them. Last week I talked a bit about clear mind. Now again, this is all clear mind stuff. Clear mind don't know. It's all the same concept. All sorts of new words, all talking about the exact same thing in different ways, trying to get you to drop the idea of self. I want to call that out just real quick. Buddhism likes to count stuff, lists of everything. Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Paths, there's lists and lists and lists. And one of the lists is the 3 marks of existence. There's suffering, right? We all know that one, First Noble Truth, right? There is suffering. There's impermanence. That sort of falls out of the Four Noble Truths. Change, change, change. Everything's changing, nonstop. If I like something, it goes away. If I want something, I can't get it. If I have a good situation, wait a minute, it'll turn. If I have a bad situation, wait again, it'll turn again. So impermanence. So there's suffering, there's impermanence, and then the third one is non-self, no self. And that's, again, the clear mind. Don't know. And last week I was saying, just a moment ago, I was talking about that clear mind and what I do with it. And just in case everybody forgot, what I do with the clear mind is not block out the universe. That's not clear mind, because the universe is there. It's my experience is still there. What I do is I don't add anything. I try not to add anything to it. I simply go back to that place. I can return to it at will now. I just go there, nice and clear. What is this? And then how do I respond? It's that then what? One more step is needed. Then what? And then I respond. And this is kind of funny. If you mess up, like there's this idea that, correct situation, correct relationship, correct function, that makes it sound like you know what to do. You don't. Nobody does. There's no guaranteed right answers. So from this clear space, a response appears. Take your shot. Only go straight. Just do it. Without regard for the outcome. Without worrying about how it turns out. You just do it. And then a new situation will appear. It'll either be related to this one or it won't. Who knows? It may come back, it may not. But from that clear space, you just act without adding thinking and thoughts to it. And I found that so useful when I'm freaking out, when I'm stressing out, when you're afraid, scared, sick, apprehensive about a situation, even this, having to give this talk. I'm sitting there during the cushion thing, and I'm just like, put it down, just clear mind. And now this is just appearing, it's just showing up, even though I don't like talking. So I think I came up a little bit short, but I'm not going to babble, so I'll stop there. I hope, if anybody has any questions, I'd like to say this, if anybody has any questions, please ask them. The odds are extremely good that if you have a question, somebody else has it, but they're afraid to ask it. So please, ask any questions, and Kwan Haeng Sunim will be happy to answer them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I want to pass. thank you for your intro talk. That was really good. So that's of having noise. It brings you right to the moment, doesn't it? Yeah. So that's the importance of having people who are beginning the practice to actually begin teaching, because then I think that folks can identify with him a lot more than they can identify with me, somebody who's been practicing for some time, because some of the stuff that he says I've forgotten or I don't mention. And so he mentioned, and that's actually quite good. And so, and also he went a different way with the clear mind. So he talked about the clear mind, but he kind of was going inside kind of thing. Zen Master Seung Sahn did a little bit more simple. He asked somebody, where is your mind? And he said, the person said, oh, it's up here. He said, that's a very small mind. And so that's a kind of interesting point, is because all of us heard that. Okay, so all of us heard that. That is our clear mind, and so then all of that mind all is connected. So that's is as simple as that. So when you're thinking and I'm thinking, our minds are separate. But when you're not thinking and I'm not thinking, then our minds are connected. Okay, then that's a kind of how that is. And clear mind and don't know and the absolute and before thinking are all the same. It's all the same. It's all clear mind. Clear mind is sitting here talking to you. Sitting here talking to you. Nothing outside of that. Yeah. And so before I get into that, interesting thing is I haven't mentioned it before about walking meditation, and it's been a long while since I've talked about that. And so I noticed today that some people walking with your hands down and stuff like that, but walking meditation is meditation. It's actually meditation. And so how do you do that? There are two ways. One is to continue to have your attention on your belly, breathe in, clear mind, clear mind, clear mind, and breathe out, don't know. As you're walking, you can do that. Attention on your belly, and you can step like that. And that's what I suggest a lot for people, beginning students, because then you do the same thing while you're sitting. Myself, what I do is actually each step, I feel each step as I'm stepping on the floor, okay? And I feel that, my feet connecting to the floor. Of course, I don't feel every step, that doesn't happen. But what happens is that when I'm doing that and my mind wanders, then I bring it back to what I'm doing. And then my mind wanders and I bring it back to what I'm doing. Now the trick isn't to see, if I can do this for the 5 minutes without my mind wandering, that's never gonna happen, okay? But what it is that you get into the habit of simply coming back to this moment, coming back to having this clear mind. So often and then this moment appears where you need this clear mind, and it's there, okay? It just is just there for you to act from it. Also, you act from this clear mind, which is not your karma, how you feel, what you're thinking, this, that, and the other. Instead, it's just what's happening, you react what's happening in that moment. So, but you'll notice, and you should try it, you can try it, do walking meditation and keep your hands down here. And you'll see how your mind also wanders. It's more difficult to bring your mind back to this moment when you have your hands than when you have your hands here. And so this is also the same when you're sitting, because when you have your hands here, what happens is your mind tends to follow your hands. So when you're going like this, then your mind is actually going like that, which is all over the place. And so the walking meditation is actually a meditation. And I know that we had somebody come from, I believe, Myanmar, or one of the Southeast Asian countries, and she was all dressed in white, because in that tradition, they don't have nuns. But she said that in that tradition, they went on practicing, we have Kilche, 3 months of meditation. They have Kilche of 3 months of walking. They just walk through the woods forest, just like that, walking. And I think we had our teacher, Zen Master Kwang, and he would also go on a retreat in Seattle, maybe for about 4 or 5 days with people. You remember that, yeah? And that practice, they weren't sitting in what you guys were walking. I've never done that, but that's what he said, that they would walk, and then and that was their practice. So that really simply points that what we're doing is actually we are, as Dave was saying, our practice is clear mind practice. Okay, it's not just, that's what it is clear mind practice, seeing things as they are. And so this, okay, then what hears that? It's simple as that. What hears that? It's not your thinking mind. It's not possible for you to think before you hear that. It's just not possible. Then the question comes, what hears that? And each one of us has that. Each religion returns to that or somehow explores that. Every culture, with their various religions and spiritual practices, explores that point. And it's something I like to say, sometimes it might get some folks mad, is that this spiritual self, religion needs this spiritual self, okay? All religion needs the spiritual self. But this spiritual self does not need religion, which is a very interesting point. Okay? Look at that sometime. And why? That's a variation on a thing religion needs love. Our religion needs love. But love doesn't need religion. So, okay, it's the same point there. Okay. Anybody have some questions? Oh, go ahead.
So, David, thank you for round number 2. After last week, I was thinking about that when you spoke about self. And I guess my question is self nothing more than our experiences? So what we experience from the moment we're born to whatever age you are, we have these experiences, and that then formulates what we consider ourself.
So then I would simply ask, who is it that's speaking to me now?
I guess it's the construct of all of my past experiences.
See, but that's all conversation. You're just talking and making words. This this self that you're talking about has no self nature. So you're saying I. Okay, then what is I? And I always tell people that you take a piece of paper and give it to your mother or somebody that's known you for 20 years. All right, somebody that you love, knows you for 20, give them a piece of paper, let them write all the things they think about you, okay? And then you write all the things you think about yourself, okay? And then compare the two. Chances are there'll be differences on that paper. So then the question is, what are you? What are you? Are you, then there's this I that you have, this idea that you have of I exists nowhere in the universe except in your noggin. Nowhere else in the universe does it exist. You have that, you say, well, so I'm all my experiences. But if you try to speak about your experiences and then you actually put your experiences together, the speech and your experiences will be different. That's how your memory works. Then who are you? So last year you were whatever age you were, and now you're a year older. Okay, then who are you? When you were 15 years old and you're now and you're looking in the mirror, then who are you? Then if you woke up this morning and you woke up angry, or you woke up happy and you looked in the mirror and now you're not, then who are you? And so then this is the problem with I that I'm going to tell you. The big problem with I is that you try to hit it right there. That's who I am. and then you try to hold on that for the rest of your life, but you can't. It's not possible. This I is always what? Changing, 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 changing. So then the question comes in, what am I? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to go home and you write all these things. You're going to say, "Whoop, yep, this is it." And then 20 years later, you can say, and then you die. That's who you was. That's other people have a different experience of you. But you actually had different experiences, and your mind also, depending upon how it felt, whether it felt happy or sad, also had different experiences. You're not going to be able to tie down who you are.
Well, that's, I guess what I'm saying is, now, 10 minutes from now, I may have a different experience, and that was going to formulate who I am, right? So it's an ongoing thing, but what I just find interesting is talking, with the starlinks and how the birds, they'll do that. They're all in sync, right? And I think at the end of the day, we're all in sync, because I could experience something, right? And then someone 1,000 miles away could experience that same type of thing, and we've never talked about it or connected, but somehow we are.
Can I speak to that a little bit?
I'd love to, yeah.
So then there is this I. This I doesn't, this permanent I that you have doesn't exist simply because of impermanence. But there's a beautiful side to that. And I've mentioned this before. If this I don't exist, what is this other side? What is it that does? Can you answer that?
I can't now. That's
How
what I'm here.
about us? How about us? Okay? So those starlings, those birds, all fly, that's us. Okay? The wars in the various countries, that's us. Do you think those wars are going to stay over there?
So if it's us, then there really is no I. Right?
No, I thought you was asking a question. You was going to go on. I'm not going to. I'm going to say, you say then, if you ask me, what am I? Okay? I'm simply going to say, sitting here talking to you. Okay? Sitting here talking to you. Okay? So I can't tell you what I is, but I can give you my experience sitting here talking to you. Okay?
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's that, do you know the mind? No, but I know this don't know mind.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. Let me just make that point, is that was Socrates that said that. And he went around asking people if they should understand themselves. They should understand this I. And then somebody asked him, Socrates, do you understand this I? And he said, no, but I understand this not knowing. And the thing is that was in Athens, and that was way far away from Asia. Where did he get that idea from? He didn't get it from Buddha. Buddha was sitting around. Where did he get that idea from? Go.
So my question is kind of bouncing off of yours in a conversation we had yesterday in Dharma teacher training. So I is impermanent and changing. What is truth?
Wall is white, floor is brown. Okay? All right. So, but then again, yeah, there's not really much I could say about that. Sky is blue, trees are green. Go ahead.
Not sure if it's a question versus just a reflection. This winter I've been feeding the squirrels peanuts. So I got this gigantic bag of peanuts, and I started throwing them out in the backyard. There's three squirrels really, a big one and a medium-sized one and a small one. And they'd come and get the nuts and stuff like that. But then the crows spotted the nuts, and the crows always win out over the squirrels. So I started taking the peanuts and I put them under my riding tractor. I leave my riding tractor outside with a cover over, so I stick them under there. So now the squirrels have a place to go and eat the nuts peacefully. But my point being is that I'm trying to think of what the squirrels are thinking. You know, I'm like, gee, these nuts appear every day, twice a day in fact, under this tractor, and they don't eat them under the tractor. They take them one at a time. They come out and they munch on them and stuff like that. and so forth. So I just got this questioning going on of what they're thinking. And that kind of raises the question of what would we think if we never learned a language? So if you never learned a language, what do you think? I mean, I look up at the golden Buddha and I say gold, I say Buddha and stuff, but if you never learned a language, what would you think? And I'm saying this because one conversation that Dave and I had, and he said something that really kind of stuck with me. It was that when I mentioned the fact that what would you think if you never learned a language? And he said the Helen Keller story. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating. And if I understood the story right, was that Helen Keller didn't remember anything before she learned a language. So at some point when she learned the language, that's when her memories started. But before that, she had no memories. So if you're not thinking, do you not form a consciousness and in a memory? And again, there's probably no question there, but kind of a reflection in that our thinking it's important, but you got to know what it is.
I don't know, for me, what I simply see there is that animals, to me, live off their intuitive before thinking mind, totally. And it's the difference between animals and human beings, that we have a thinking mind. And so we say, we have this thinking mind, we could do a lot of good things, but we also did a lot of stupid things.
Yeah, I have a list.
Yeah. So that's the difference, and that's also a question Zen Master Seung Sahn would ask. And he said, "Why do you eat every day?" And some people say, I eat so that my body can be strong and I can move around, I can work and stuff like that." But also animals do the same thing. Human beings, we have a thinking mind. So then what do we do then with this thinking mind? So. With our practice, we have this, which is primary point, and then the next step, when you sit in the Dharma room, you're returning to this before thinking mind, this primary point. It changes. It changes to clear mind. The floor is brown, my clothes are gray, so you always keep your eyes open when you're sitting. You don't close your eyes. And so then, I kind of lost my train of thought.
I've lost my train of thought a long time ago.
Anyway, I'll try to recall it. That happens with old age, I guess. Oh, well.
All ages.
Yeah, all ages, anyway. Yeah.
I'd better go before I lose my train. And this is a very non-philosophical question. I was at an all-day retreat last week, and at a certain point, somebody
What kind of retreat was it?
All-day retreat here
yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, someone came around with a big stick, and people, that stick, and people bowed, and he whacked them on the back. And when he came to me, I politely declined, but I've been thinking about it because I want to. First of all, it sounded really loud to me, but I have hearing aids, so maybe it wasn't as big a whack. But what's the purpose of it?
A couple is that when you get hit on your muscles there, they're tight, they relax them. Also, when you're sleepy, that helps you to wake up. So that's kind of like the purpose of them. A lot of times when you're sitting, people nod out and they get tired, and then they have that happen, wakes you up a bit. There are other groups, that are really strong with that. In fact, that they can come and hit you whenever they want, and you don't have a choice in it. And what they do basically is they'll watch you and they feel like you need to have a whack. They'll give you a whack, and it can be quite painful. I've met groups, people that went to that kind of a group, and as I said, then they were in Singapore and they come back and they're laughing because their shoulders are, and their arms are hurting up here because they really got whacked. And, but it does. It's a technique. Okay, so there are many different kinds of techniques. That technique there does wake you up. It loosens the muscles, and in the traditions, which they are really strong, it brings you really right to the moment and keeps you there for a while.
I was just going to say, would you like Gary to give me a couple of pops to let him all see it?
Sure. Why don't you do that? That would be nice. And so this is our style. This is not that style. If we were to do that style, Dave probably wouldn't want him to do it.
Thank you.
And so we do that each, like, supposedly, and ideally, we want to do it for each sitting. In the middle of the sitting, he'll walk around and do that. And it does sound noisy, and some people complain. They say, oh, why are you doing that? That disturbs my meditation. That shouldn't disturb your meditation, because your meditation is clear mind, which is present moment, keeping present and aware of what's happening. So the trees, the noise, the birds, all of that is as part of this present moment. If you're talking about blocking things out, then you're talking concentration. Our practice is not concentration, and concentration isn't meditation, actually. And now some groups do practice using concentration, but if you look at them, they use concentration as a step to the next thing that they do. They don't. That concentration isn't that practice, that total practice, but it moves them on to another thing. So they learn how to use their mind in a certain way, and then they go to the next step. But here, it's pretty effective. I think if not only the hitting of Dave being hit, but my sitting here also to hear that pop, pop, that it also wakes me up and puts me right into the moment. Yeah.
It's nice to see some familiar faces today. I haven't been here in a while. I usually leave with whatever question or whatever I'm thinking about. But today I was like, let me push myself to get up here to the mic. And I think there's a question here. But I was thinking about two things. I was thinking about the first time I was here last year. And I often think about that time, like, you know, like the protagonist in a film that stumbles into this remote town, usually inebriated or some sort, and encounters this beautiful heroine that nurses him back to life. And I wanted to say, Kwan Haeng Sunim, you're that heroine. And yeah, because I remember how much pain I was in, and I couldn't even like sit at the time. And you telling me that I needed to walk and do certain things before I could sit. And one, as I come up on the anniversary of that, like I wanted to say thank you.
Oh, sure. You're welcome.
For that. And also, like I've been thinking about, you know, the question of what is one supposed to do with their life. I feel like a lot of people struggle with that. You know, I had this thought one time, like money not being an issue can become an issue. It's like someone wins the lottery and then there's only so long that you can be on vacation before it gets boring, right? Yacht life can get boring too. So then it's like, well, what do you do? We often think about life from a scarcity mindset where like we don't have enough. But then it's like if you wake up with everything you need and then some, what do you do then? And yeah, so I just been thinking about that, like that idea of like what is one supposed to do with their life? Yeah, just.
Okay, sure. We can talk about that. And so that's what's interesting is that once you do look inside and you see this I has no self-nature, and then practicing, it doesn't take a lot of practice to see that this I has no self-nature. And then the next step is to see the connection that we all have with everybody else. And then what's next? Do I Go to Facebook and see how many friends I can get. Go to the stock market and see how much money I can make. But you already looked at this I and saw that this I had no self-nature. Then why would you do that? But you look around and you see that, oh, I can help other people. I can help the air. I can help the water. I can help nature. I can help people. I mean, some folks think that human beings are into this world and the world is ours. We can do what we want. Well, look at what we did. We ruined this planet. That's us doing what we want. Just, you know. But to my mind, it's how can we help? And so then what is Buddhism? Buddhism is understanding yourself, looking inside, and from there helping others. That's how anytime I do orientation, that's what I say. You look inside, understand yourself, understand your mind, all right? And from there help others. It's just as simple as that. So that's also why do you eat every day? And I don't see anything more of a higher calling than that, than helping others. Can you think of something else? I hear somebody who's often in pain, and then they say to me that when they're helping somebody else, often they don't feel that pain. You know, that's a kind of interesting thing. So now the other thing is that's very, very, very important, and that's direction. Because if you don't have direction, boy, you can get lost. Even you have all the money and everything else that you need. If you don't have direction, you can get lost. So it's kind of like if I'm in a wheelchair and I want to go to Florida, and I know where Florida is and how to get there, eventually I'll get there. If I've got a Lamborghini and I don't know where I'm going, I have no direction, and I hit that gas pedal, I can wind up anywhere. You know, it just. So we have all this intelligence, all this knowledge, and in some ways we're winding up in hell with it because we have no direction. The country as a whole doesn't have direction. People as a whole doesn't have direction. I once heard this. I was in the Unitarian church, and they had this Christian lady. I forget what her name was, and she was actually quite good. And what she said, that actually the world as a whole, in order to have some change, in order to have a big change, almost you need a spiritual change. And so that's what it seems to me that needs to happen. But it's very important that this spiritual, you have to accept other spiritual practices. There's no way we're going to do one spiritual practice. But to make the change that this world needs to help each other seems to have to come from the spiritual self. It isn't going to come from logic. Because why? Because our mind follows our thinking. Our mind follows our desires, which is food, money, sex, sleep, and power. Okay, that's what our thinking mind follows all the time. Regardless, that's how our thinking mind follows. That's why somebody can go to Harvard University and Yale and all these other great universities and have all this great understanding and come out and hit Wall Street and do all the stupid things that are happening now. Because your thinking mind follows your desire mind. So then, what is it? This spiritual self which connects to the universe and to all of us, that has more of a chance of this universal self of helping everybody. Because I understand that just because somebody's in another color and I start mowing them down, what do you think that does to my mind? And when I come home, what do you think I'm going to do when I'm at home? And then when I'm at home and a group of people are making trouble, how do you think I'm going to handle it? By peaceful means, or am I going to start doing the same thing that I was doing in the other country? So that's, our direction is important. Our direction is very important. And so Zen Master Seung Sahn would say that if you have a correct direction, anything you do is actually in that direction is correct, is helpful. In that direction. That's why we have the 5 precepts and we have the 10 precepts, but we say don't attach to it, because sometimes you attach to it, that could also take you right to hell. So Zen Master Seung Sahn would say, well, if you had a chance to kill Hitler before he did all the things that he did, what would you do? And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no right and no wrong answer. Okay, this is, what would you do? This is about your experience. Anyway, so then, if your direction is to help all beings, to help all people, then what do you do? So that's a kind of another thing. I just think, and it gets a little bit weird, is because back in the Vietnam War, there were monks that would burn themselves. But everybody knows in Buddhism, the number one thing, bad thing to do was to kill yourself. But you see that these were masters there in Vietnam that burnt themselves. What do you think that was? So, as Seung Sahn would say, is that this eye, how big is your eye? That's what he would say. How big is your eye? Those Vietnamese monks that burnt themselves, how big was their eye? Okay. Enough heavy duty, huh?
That was heavier.
There's a comedian I listened to, and he said the thing about Hitler. He says, if you could go back and kill Hitler as a baby, would you do? He's like, oh my God, as a parent, I couldn't possibly do that. But as a parent of 2 teenagers, I am the underhand to see myself strangled teenage Hitler.
Good.
Thank you, Gary, for that comic relief. I think we all needed that. So thank you very much for dropping these bombs, virtual bombs. Okay, just a few announcements. Our next 2-day retreat is going to be a YMJJ. That's a weekend retreat at the beginning of May. We also have an art as practice retreat coming up in May. We are almost done with Kilche, but you have one more opportunity, I think, to sign up to sit for a week at the beautiful monastery on the hill. And that's with Zen Master Seung Sahn, Bobby Rhodes, the head Zen Master of the Global Quantum School of Zen. So if you've got the desire, just do it. And you do need previous experience sitting retreats to do that. Buddha's birthday is going to come up on April 4th and 5th, and we'll have a precept ceremony. I think that's in the afternoon on Saturday. In the morning, there will be a Buddha's birthday celebration. You can register for that at the Quantum School of Zen America's website. And lots of people from other sanghas come down, so you can meet people if you haven't been around that long. We also have our next meeting of the art club on April 27th. And if you are inclined towards arts and crafts, we have lots of mala making supplies out there, and we also have, you can make lanterns for Buddha's birthday. That's in the dining room. Of course, we have our usual programming, dinner on Wednesday night, followed by practice. West Side Zen happens in Providence and online on Thursdays. And if you've been coming for a while, consider becoming a member. Membership supports both our Zen Center and the Quantum School of Zen Americas. So it's a worthy way to support us. The gift shop will be open, and we will also have refreshments. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.